Hey everyone and welcome to the channel. Today I'll be reviewing the Atelier Ryza Reisalin Stout figure from Max Factory. Now, I've played the first Atelier Ryza game and I thought it was pretty cool. I've also experienced most of the Ireland trilogy, so I played Rona, Totori and Maru, but I didn't play Lilua. So I'm fairly familiar with the Atelier games, and I've never gotten a figure from them, and this will be my first one ever. And I really did want a Ryza, and Ryza has basically single-handedly revived the franchise and basically outsold any other title in the franchise, pretty much solely based on her design. So, of course, I was going to get a figure of her at some point, but it was tricky determining which one I wanted. Like, I do like her first design, her second design's pretty cool too, and I do quite like the third outfit. But I wasn't too sure about the many figures that were out there. Couldn't really decide on a pose that I liked, and then I saw the prototypes of this one, and I was pretty much instantly sold. And it's been, I think it's like 2, maybe 3 years since they first revealed this design for the Ryza figure, but it's finally out, so I guess we'll just get right into it. So you can see there's a nice promo image on the box with all the branding you need, so the name of the actual series, all of it in Japanese, and then Ryza's name. Just has a rough description of it being a plastic painted product. It's 1/6 scale. It mentions who the sculptor is, as well as who did the paintwork, which is cool. That's usually for slightly more premium products. Pretty normal for like Alta and Good Smile Company figures to have that sort of thing, which is cool. And then on the side, we've just got information about the franchise's logo, same little info down there. You've got a bunch of promo images as well as the legal info down the bottom, as well as the same design on the side. On the top, we've got a little cutout of Ryza, which looks cool, and all throughout the figure we've got this nice gold trim design, which just makes the figure look very premium, and the box feels decently premium as well. I quite like it. It looks nice, and well, I mean, might as well just get right into it. Okay, and after a decent amount of assembly, here is Ryza out of the box, and she's looking quite good. Now, from the angle that I'm viewing it from, it's sort of like top down this way, so it looks kind of funny from my angle, but I can see it through the camera, and looks pretty damn accurate to the promo images, so I'm quite happy with that. There is a lot going on with this figure. This is sort of like a semi-diorama, whereas some of the other figures that I've looked at are more statues, but I think that they've put a lot of effort into the base and the pose to make everything work quite well. And the assembly process sort of makes you appreciate a lot of that, because there are so many parts to this, and to get into the actual Ryza figure, you need to take apart a lot of the figure itself, so that you can remove a lot of the plastic and things like that that would prevent paint transfers. So it sort of makes you appreciate the figure as you go through it, which is quite cool. So first we'll go through like sculpt and pose of the figure, see what I like and what I don't like, paint, and any issues I have, and overall thoughts on the figure itself, as well as any gimmicks that it does have, because this does have a gimmick. But yeah, let's just start off looking at the sculpt. You saw the promo images on the box already, so you can see how accurate this is to the sort of material that we were given. And from my time with the game, this does seem pretty damn accurate. I do like the pose of her sort of getting ready to go on an adventure. She's got a water bottle here, or some sort of potion. I'm guessing it's a water bottle. It looks like a canteen. We've got a bunch of other little gizmos and her little alchemy bag off to the side. So it's like she's getting ready for a quest, which is a nice little thing. It's sort of like grabbed her as a brief moment in time. And so she's putting on her boots, ready to set out. And I think they've nailed that look. In terms of the sculpt, we will take a much closer look at the figure. So her face looks fantastic. The mouth and nose are all sculpted details. You can see a little tooth peeking out. Oh, well, a little bit of her teeth peeking out from the top. Looks great. The eyes are beautifully done. The little hair accessory is nice. And this little bird just on her shoulder. Her hat is very well done as well. This figure also weighs a little bit, so it's got some heft to it. The hat's well detailed. Her hair is very nicely sculpted. Just the right amount of detail. Nothing, not too many strands detailed up, and not so many that it, or not so few that it looks like just a clump of nothingness. It's just right. And the bird looks nice. It's very simple, but it looks good. Her outfit is very well detailed. There's ruffles all over the figure. See, there's a nice movement and flow to everything, which is quite cool. Her chest is well detailed. Her outfit's nice. One thing that is a little bit of an issue is how this sculpt is done with this sort of like yellow overcoat piece. It doesn't connect into anything, so it just sort of hangs on her body, and so the arms are meant to hide the gap, but depending on how this is posed, you might see the gap, but again, you're only seeing it from this angle, so shouldn't really matter too much. It's just something that I noticed. Her glove looks good over here. Very well detailed. I like the stretch of the boot, and her fingers are actually under it. This is slightly posable here, the little tassels on her little hoodie thing, and the other hand connects on to pull up the rest of the boot, which looks good too. Her thighs look fantastic. There's an actual separation between the thigh and the under sock thing. I don't know if it's really a sock because it like cuts off here. I don't know. Anyway, there is that gap, and that gap is important. We haven't gone to issues yet, but I do have a paint error here. There was some masking tape covering it, which was weird. I don't know if I was meant to have masking tape on my figure, but I did, and there's this error here, but it's on the back, so it's forgiven. All the sculpted detail on her back is also very, very good. This is a rubbery material. It's easy to take on and off, and you can see it peeks through to her back as well as the actual hood there, which looks good. On her other leg, you can see what her little sock thing looks like without the boot, and it's very well done. Her feet are nicely detailed on both ends, and as well as underneath and under the shoe. You can see her little pants. This is slightly flat like a noodle stopper figure, just so it can rest correctly. But generally the sculpt is pretty damn fantastic. As for the sculpt of the base, equally well done. Each of these individual items is very well done. It looks fantastic. Everything slots in quite securely, which is why I can hold it up like this without it falling. Ryza does not connect to the base, she just sits on it. So there's slight indentations here and an indentation for her foot here. So just heads up, if you are transporting this figure around, just be ready that Ryza does not actually click in, she just rests on the base. But otherwise the sculpt is fantastic. Some beautiful detail work going on. Each individual piece is very, very well done. I especially like this little alchemy tube with this crystal inside. Looks very good. And also just the tree and the vines going around. I wouldn't mind a change of the finish on these because it's a little bit semi-gloss and I'm not too sure about that choice, but if it's full of life and vitality, then I guess that it would be a fresh branch and it would have quite a bit of colour. But yeah, sculpt-wise, it's pretty fantastic, and when you put it all together, the figure looks incredible. So quite happy with that. In terms of paint, everything is pretty damn on point. I really like the colors. That's another reason why I was a bit iffy on some of the Ryzas. I wasn't too sure about a lot of the paint choices that they made. But this one I think was pretty close to what I wanted. Ooh, excuse me. I think this one was pretty close to what I wanted. Her hair looks good. It's multiple tones and it sort of fades at the end, which looks good. The bird's okay. It's not the best paint job, but it's fine. But every other little bit is really, really good, except for that little paint error from before. There's nice shading all throughout her boots, and her feet are nicely detailed as well. There's the glossy toenails, which look good. Something on her foot. Just there, it's like a hair or something. Hopefully I can get rid of that. But there's one thing that I'm a little bit iffy on in terms of paint. It's how pink her fingers are. I don't know if that's showing properly on camera, but like half of her hand is like really, really pink. And I guess it's meant to be that it's just sort of stressing while she's pulling her boot up. But it just looks a bit funny. The transition of the thigh color is very, very nice. The transition between that and the sock looks very, very clear here. Looks very, very good. All of the other small details and shading on the back is good. I don't know if the shading's clear on camera, but there is shading throughout this. The hat is also slightly shaded, which looks good. But just about everything on this figure is premium, which is great. And all the paint apps on her face are fantastic. So yeah, really, really good job on those generally. The paint job on the base, pretty good as well. Not the best for these little like paper things floating around or like materials. They don't look that great. This briefcase looks fantastic individually. This canister looks incredible again. The paintwork is great. The shading on this bit is incredible. The weathering on the rocks on the base looks so good. Hopefully I've got B-roll up of them individually. But it's just really, really good looking. I'm pretty happy with that overall. But yeah, the paint's pretty good. In terms of gimmicks, there is something special about this figure, and it came in it's sort of like the Hosho Marin that I looked at, where it is an option, but not really. It's more something that they just show you while you assemble the figure, but I believe it is an option because they did show it briefly as one of the promo images for pre-order. So for this, you need to take apart the figure just a little bit. So you can pop off her head, if you can get a good grip. There we go. I don't know if I need to take the bird off. Hopefully I don't, because he's a little bit annoying. Then you can take off her leg. You can see how nicely sculpted that is. You can take off each arm. And this one's a bit tricky because it needs to go in sort of at an angle. There's a lot that can go wrong on it. But one thing that's cool when you do that, it reveals a lot more detail of her shirt and her belt. The paint job isn't perfect on them, but it looks pretty good, and it's just nice to have that additional detail. But while we're like this, you can remove her yellow hoodie, so it just slots off, and you can see they've also detailed and shaded the inside, which is very cool as well. So now we've got her in sort of like a light mode. You can see more detail that is revealed, all of her back detailed up nicely. Now we can reassemble her, and so you just sort of line up the gaps with the sleeves, and if it's more apparent now, the pink of the fingers. It's very, very pink. And there we have Ryza in her light mode. And so you can see just a lot more of her shirt is revealed. Her belt is fully on display. There's even some more skin peeking out on the back. You can see the pants are shaded nicely. You can see there's some nice shading in her skin tone as well. And it's just great to see this much detail put in something that is most likely going to be hidden 90% of the time with this figure, unless you like changing it every now and again. Usually I settle on one pose and then leave it at that. But it's a pretty good light mode, and it also helps in this one just because of her getting ready, so she might not have chucked her hoodie on yet, which is cool. But in terms of the importance of the hoodie to this, I think that the yellow really separates her from the base and makes her pop a bit more. I think it's a little bit plain without it, but it is cool that we have that option. But yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of gimmicks. It's just something cool that you can do, and I do like that you can remove the arms to see how much more detail they've put into this figure. But generally, that's about it. So before we wrap up, let's do a quick size comparison. So here she is next to a Pop-Up Parade. This is Pop-Up Parade Cammy, and Ryza is a 1/6 scale statue, and Cammy is a Pop-Up Parade, which is non-scale but around 110. Next we have Gundam Aerial. This is a HG Gundam, so they're 1/144 scale, but they scale with Figma, so they're roughly around 112 scale. And here we have SH Figuarts Anya, who is 112 scale, but she's Anya, so she's very, very tiny. Overall, it's quite a good figure. I am happy that this is the Ryza that I went with, but whether or not I buy any more beyond this is another thing. I think this is a very good base one, and I don't need to get any more if I don't need to, but now that I've started, will I continue? That is the major part of this. But overall, quite happy with it, quite like it. It is a good figure. I still need to play Ryza 2, and I think Ryza 3 has just come out or about to come out. Not really sure when video is coming out. Really good figure, I like it quite a bit. And Ryza's just a great character, good design. I can see why everyone likes it. I mean, I played the game and I bought it for a reason, we all know. But yeah, it's a very good figure, and I hope you enjoyed that video, and I will see you all next time.